Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I see Katie Frizzle left a comment here, so nice to see you, Katie Frizzle. Nice to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Frank Thiga's Dropping Knowledge coming at you once again. Nice to see everyone. It's the first of the month. It's the first of the month. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope you all started this month off on the right foot. I know I already worked. I just got off a few minutes ago. Had my cups of coffee. I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling. Gonna wait for a few more to jump on to a few more viewers. Hey, Shark City girl, nice to see you. Nice to see you, my friend. God bless you. Love you, miss you. Hope all is well. Hope all is good. As you can see, we're still out here doing our thing. It's nice and cool outside. That's why I'm out here. I'm actually under the risk of mangoes falling on me because I'm right under the mango tree. So yeah, I'm kind of got to be careful right now. Hopefully one doesn't land. Look, just so you guys see, these are mangoes from the tree. But the tree is very high. Look how tall that tree is. That's a mango tree. Okay, so sometimes mangoes fall from that height. Nice to see you, Shark City girl. God bless you. Hey, what's up, Hangman? Nice to see you. Yeah, we got 9 people watching. 9 people watching. Thank you guys so much. As you know, it's Frank Tica's Dropping Knowledge Talking Papas Monday. We're gonna be talking some papas today. I'm gonna try to be here at least maybe a couple of hours. We'll see. You know. Let's see. Sending big love is like 90. Wow, it's hot over there. It's probably around the same over here. Let me see. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. It's in Salvador weather. Right now it's 78 here, so it's a little less. There is 91% humidity though. Okay. Yeah, sending love back to you, man. Try to stay cool. Try to stay cool. It's hard. That's why I'm out here. Look, I'm out here. It's starting to get a little, the sun is going down, so it is getting a little cooler. It's 5:38. My daughter loves mangoes. I need a tree. I get to yeah. Now I get a bunch. Like I get like 50 whenever there's like a good crop. I can get like 100 mangoes. Like I give them away sometimes. Hey, what's up, Katie Frizzle? What's up? What's up? Baba, wake up. Frank Tikas is talking papas. Hey, what's up, my friend? What's up, Bill Mannered? What's up, Hayes One? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah, Ill's in the house. You got Hayes One. That's right, Hangman. What's this? What are you saying, Katie? It's not bad here today. Been storming though. Okay. I mean, it rains later on today. I don't think it's gonna rain right now. If you guys can look at the sky, you see that? That's how it is down here. It's nice and breezy. It's 78. That's my mango tree right there. That's 94 where you're at. Wow, that's hot, bro. I hope you're in the shade, man. Drinking water, brother. I hope you're out there, Katie Frizzle, Frank, and everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, Miss Yaya. We got Shark City in the house, Miss Yaya, Ill Mannered, the Hangman. We got Katie Frizzle. That's right. We got everyone in. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys. I'm going to put this right here for now. You guys can see the chats on the side. Okay. Um, let me change that a little bit. Let me see. I'm gonna put them to where we can see them a little. Look, you see how I can change it a little bit? Let's see. I like that. I like it boxed. Yeah, I'm gonna put it like this. That way you guys can see the chat, okay, as it appears. and I don't have to put everything up. All right, so I don't know if I've spoken about this before. I may have, to a certain extent. But I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about addiction, a story about addiction. I've lost some friends to drugs, in different ways. I've lost friends to drugs because the drugs ended up killing them and they overdosed. I've also lost friends to drugs because in the process of getting drugs, they ended up getting killed, right? Or they owed money and they ended up getting killed. Look who's on time. Hey, what's up, Jay Slaughter? Nice to see you, man. Yeah, man, I'm just starting right now, bro. I'm made for the shade. Yeah, we got Shark City, Jay Slaughter. Everybody's in here, man. I'm happy to see everybody. As you can see, the comments are on the side. Okay, we got Jay Slaughter. It's 80 here. It's going down. It was hotter, but it's going down. As you can see, the sun's going down here as well. I'm in my patio. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit, tell you guys a little story. Okay, I just want you guys to look at the sky out here. That's where I'm at right now. That's how it looks. It's nice and cool breeze going on. Rest in peace to Matt. Rest in peace to Matt Brown. Rest in peace to Matt Brown, man. And I lost a homie to drugs that were cut with prescription meds. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna tell you guys about a friend of mine. Now he was a very close friend of mine. Um, as a matter of fact, he used to go to my house a lot. I would go to his house a lot. He had kids already. This was a time when I was still out there on the street. I never wanted to have children out there while I was out there. I didn't want to have kids because I saw what they went through because of my friends, because they weren't good parents. That's why with me, being a parent is important, right? It is important to be a good parent, to be a present father or present mother. It makes a difference. I think it makes a big difference. Even if there's infighting, even if the couple doesn't get along as well as they should, you know, sometimes people are together for the sake of the children. And I think sometimes that's not always the best. But, if it's not like DV, right? If there's no DV involved, if it has more to do with just like not along, maybe even cheating, right? But it never gets um, physical. Hey, what's up, Kelly Big Dog? What's up, guys? I do think that there is a way to coexist where both parents can be in the house. And let me just check on something real quick. Okay, I just want to make sure the volume is up on this, on my microphone. All right, I'm going to put voice isolation here because there is a lot of noise out here. Okay, I hope it sounds a little better now. What's up? I was happy when my parents split up. Yeah, there are moments in which your parents should split up. I do think that. But I also think that sometimes it depends. It depends. Saludos from Papa's Land, Idaho. Hey, nice. Yeah, all right, bro. I'm glad you're in Idaho. Same with me, man. Yeah, so I mean, I agree. There are moments in which parents should split up, especially if there's violence, especially if there's a lot of fighting. But I also think that children need both parents, right? Whether they're in the same house, the parents' influence is important. And like I was saying, the reason why I didn't want to be a father for a while, for a long time, was number one, I didn't want to have kids with just anybody. and I didn't want to have like a kid with someone and then have a kid with someone else. I didn't want that, right? Let's see. Then the voice isolation works for others, doesn't it? Yeah, it works a lot better, man. So, as I was saying, I had a friend. We were very close. He was one of the inner circle with my friends. And had he not been on drugs, he probably would have been the fifth crimey. He probably would have been the fifth one of us. Like, well, my fourth crimey, the fifth one of the group. But, it turned out it was just four of us that night. But had he not been on drugs, had he not been out there on the street, he probably would have been with us, right? This was a guy that, like I said, he had kids. He loved his kids. He was down with us. He was someone that you can count on to be up in the front line when things were going bad. He was there. He was side by side with us, right? But he ended up getting hooked on crack, and he ended up getting killed on the street. And I think that one of the sad things about it is that his children saw all of that. His children saw his downward spiral, and they tried. His wife tried, but she was also doing bad. I mean, not necessarily on drugs, but economically. Then she had to be chasing this fool around. She tried to get him help, tried to put him in rehab, tried to do everything, but he ended up, dying out there. He ended up getting killed because of money that he owed. He got into it with people. Let's see. I didn't even look for that option on Restream. Hence, it was my first time. Okay. Oh yeah, let me go ahead and put the link up here if anybody wants to jump on. The link, I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna pin it as well. Okay, and this is the link, guys. If you want to see it, or if you guys want to jump on, I'll let you on. But let me just finish my story. I want to tell a couple of stories real quick. But the sad thing about good to know, it has that option though. Yeah. Um, the thing about my friend passing away is that a few months ago I got a phone call from another friend who was a part of the group as well. And we were talking about him, and we were talking about that, and he's like, that fool owed me like $300. That's fucked up. So when we talk a lot about legacy and what it is that we leave behind, what do we leave our kids, what do we leave our family? I always think about that song, Papa Was a Rolling Stone. And how all the kids mention how bad their father was. Like, they hear all of these rumors of who their dad was. And all their mom could say was, yeah, he was a Rolling Stone. He was irresponsible. He left us with a loan. He didn't leave you with shit. That's fucked up. So when you think about like what drugs do to you, especially like if you have children, and if you are a parent, it could rob your kids. Your addiction can rob your kids of what they need, for their future, for their present. These are guys that no longer provide for their kids. They no longer provide for their family because they use everything on drugs. Everything they steal, everything that they come up on, it's on drugs. And I remember that, his girl used to look for him, and she would take like $2 from him. And even those $2 were like, he would get mad because she would ask him for money. And he's like, I'm like, here's $2. And he would do it in a way where he was really mad. He was really upset that he had to give up that money. Hey, what's up, Machete? Nice to see you, man. Katie Frizzle, what's up, OG Smalls? Nice to see you in here. So it's not just the damage that it does to you. It's like, what do you put your family through? And I think that a lot of times that's why family has a hard time, like like believing in rehabilitation, right? Or believing in people when they've gone through like addiction, when they've gone through so much because of the addiction, they don't believe when people actually start working on their addiction and start taking the steps towards recovery. It's tough. Recovery is tough. But I think it makes it even worse if you've been an asshole during your problem with drugs or whatever it is that you were addicted to. That's right, Keith Frizz was it? Jorgita hit that. Yeah, man. Look, that's another form of addiction. I'm going to talk about that too. That's right, Katie Frizz. Let's see. That's sad. A relationship is supposed to be 50-50. Yeah, man. It's supposed to be 50-50. You know, and then if you're more traditional, right, it's usually the man is 100%. I mean, if you're more traditional, I'm a little more traditional, but I've learned to accept the fact that, hey, if my wife can help me out, I'm gonna accept it if I need it. You know what I mean? Because most of the time I do it, and but if I'm in need and if she can help me out, and when she decides to, I accept it. But yeah, a relationship should be 50-50. But when someone's on drugs, they are no longer 50-50. Now they become a liability. They become a problem, especially when they start stealing from the home. They start stealing from the home, and that becomes an issue. What's up, Smalls? Kelly Bida, yeah, look. Many people were secretly fathered by one of the actual wrongs. Yeah, probably, or their neighbor, or their father's homie. You know, because sometimes that's what ended up happening. And I remember, for example, with some of my homies, with their ladies, like their wives, like sometimes I would give them money. Hey, what's up? 2 times. What's going on, brother? Like sometimes I would give them the money. Sometimes I would give them a ride to like the doctor or whatever. And my friends would know because I would tell them, like I would let them know, like, hey, if I'm gonna take your lady tomorrow to the doctor's, fool, because of your kid, and they wouldn't say shit, man. And and I started remembering these things because we always talk about dead weight, whatever, and like people carrying somebody else. Sometimes, a lot of times, you carry your friends. A lot of times you carry your friends, especially when they're starting to show signs of addiction. Especially when they start showing signs of being hooked on drugs or being alcoholics, you start carrying them a lot of the times. Sometimes you start worrying about them more than you should. Sometimes you start thinking about them, start calling them up. You start stressing over your friend because you see your friend going down a dark path. So once again, being addicted to something harms you. Ultimately, you're the one that suffers the most harm, but so do the people around you, the people that love you, the people that care about you. They suffer. They suffer a lot. And a lot of times they carry the full blunt, the full weight of your addiction. Let's see, a good point. Maybe my perception of myself is off from the drugs. When Joker said, "I know Gunner's heart low," they both each other. Yeah, man, they know each other very well, right? Um, but yeah, now I'm gonna tell you another story, and this is from a kid that I met down here. So I met this kid down here, and he was a friend. Like he was almost like an adopted friend of another group of guys that I used to play soccer with. Okay, I think that, yeah, I think there's a drug for that. Different types of heart, yeah. So this kid was he was a good soccer player too, man. Young kid, But his family basically disowned him, right? So he got kind of adopted by his friends. And there were a bunch of dudes that they were all related, they were all from a family, and they took him in. He started living with them. They gave him a job. He started working with them because they worked in construction. So he was making money. And this was a young guy. He was like 17, 18 years old, right? He played soccer, was working, making money, didn't have a family though. And even though these guys try to be a family for him, it really hurt his heart that his biological family had kind of like moved on without him. They even moved, like they left. They left and he stayed living here. But he was living with these guys, right? With this big family. Let me see. Saludos, friend. Hey, saludos to you, Torres. Saludos to you. I seriously think that Duz and Skittles are in a romantic relationship. I think so too. I think so too. I mean, it's a lot closer than what they make it out to be. Most definitely, I agree. But and we're gonna talk about their addictions, right? Let me see. Schooners. How strong is the ocean down there? It depends, bro. It depends because we have high and low tides just like everywhere else, and it depends on what beach you go to. There's a lot of beaches, different beaches. I agree. All they listen to is love songs. Yeah. So this kid, yeah, bromance gone too far. Um, let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Primo. Yeah, I don't think there's a. Saludos to you, 8M. Sorry, JM805. Nice to see you, man. Yeah. So he started drinking. He would drink every weekend, just the weekends. He started drinking after the soccer games, and people started noticing that he was drinking, but he would drink and get buzzed, right? That's how it started. And he would only drink Sundays, but then he was drinking Saturdays and Sundays. And he wasn't just like stopping, so he would start drinking Saturday, he would drink all night, he would wake up, go play soccer, and then he started drinking again Sunday evening. And then Mondays, he would go to work drunk. But he would go to work. That's right, Primo. Some people are addicted to us, right? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. And we're going to get to those types of addictions. That's right. Shark City girl, long time send mines. Yes, yes. Let's see. Joker said runner came flamed up to Santa Barbara, and Joker was like, damn fool, looking like a snake. Look like snap into a slim Jim. Look like a Slim Jim, right? That's funny. Yeah, man. But anyways, so he started drinking, and then he just kept on drinking. And the times that I tried talking to him, sorry about that. Times that I did try talking to him, and I would tell him, man, dude, you gotta stop drinking, bro. Like, what's wrong, man? What's going on? And he told me it's because his family didn't love him. And we're like, man, but you got all these people over here that see you as family, that want you that have you living there. We all care about you, bro. Like, I understand that you miss your mom and dad, but it's you got to look out for yourself. You don't look good. But he kept on drinking, and then it wasn't beer; it became hard liquor, and he got really bad, man. So this was a young guy that from 17, 18 years old started drinking heavily, and he only lasted about a year. And like towards the end of his life, I tried to give him food once, and he's like, I can't eat anything. So what he asked me for was to make him a cup of noodles. Like so my wife ended up making a soup, like chicken soup, and all he could eat was the broth. He could only drink the broth. He couldn't eat any of the meat, and he was basically gone like a few months after that, because he couldn't get over his family leaving him, not leaving him alone. And he started drinking heavily, and he ended up dying. And I look at these idiots, for Joker, for example, who gets drunk every single night. Like, do you know what you have to do to get drunk every single night? I mean, to get drunk every single night, how much you have to drink? So when I hear these guys talk about it's just the internet, it's just entertainment, you know how many people get triggered from watching that fool getting drunk? You know how many people get the wrong idea thinking that it's okay to get drunk like that every fucking day and do it online where everyone's watching you, and impressionable young people and people that have been fighting their addiction are watching you fucking getting drunk all the time and acting as though that's you're living the life? How old was he when he passed? He barely turned 19, bro. So he died like within a year and 2 months. Like, alcohol just took him away. He died of cirrhosis. I guess I don't know how to pronounce it very well. I think it's cirrhosis of the liver. Scoliosis of the liver. Cirrhosis. We say cirrhosis in Spanish. So yeah, so his liver got shot out. And then all his organs were shot out because he kept on drinking. And you know what's crazy? Is how I see Joker puffing up. Like, that kid that's how he started puffing up too. So when Joker talks about his sponsor is an effect of his fucking alcoholism. A best friend I grew up with was on meth. He ripped off my rims and some cash. When he was dying in the hospital, I never went to see him. I was still pissed after 20 years. It happens, bro. It happens. So that's why I think that when we talk about addiction, we talk about the people it affects. Obviously, those that are addicted, we want to see them get help. But a lot of times, because of their actions, they turn a lot of people off and they turn people away from them. One of the most frustrating things for me has been trying to help people with addictions. Like, that is one of the most frustrating things because they lie to you, they manipulate you. You have to chase them around. You have to look for them. They lie to you about appointments. They lie to you about when you can call them. They lie to you about when you can go pick them up. They lie to you about whether they ate, whether they used the money to eat, whether they paid their bills, whether they did all of these things. That is one of the hardest things to deal with when you're dealing with addicts. And if you look at these guys on YouTube, on TikTok, they're constantly lying to get drunk. Here we go. Yeah, cirrhosis. All right, cool. Yeah, so cirrhosis. Yeah, man, cirrhosis of the liver, bro. And he was a young kid, but he just went out hard. He just drank his life away in a year and a few months. That's brutal. Leaving Las Vegas is a rough watch. That's what it reminds me of. To die of alcoholism at 19 is insane. Yeah, bro, it is. But it goes to show that we are affected by so much and we try to hide so much. We try not to let things affect us. But that's how you can see. Like, so for me, I don't think you can drink every day and get drunk every day unless there's something eating at you, man. Like, straight up. Like, you got some fucking straight up worries, you know? Like, you're being plagued by a bunch of shit. Like, I mean, you really, really, really have to be going through some shit. I mean, I know alcoholism can get at you and you can be addicted to alcoholism just naturally, it is a disease. But I have seen, in the majority of times that I have seen people like just lose themselves to alcohol, is because they're going through it. They're going through some shit. Either they're going through some shit because their family is making them go through shit, or they've done some shit, and now they're going through it. So that's the only way to calm their nerves. And in the case of fucking Johnny Ratas, we know he's done a lot of people dirty, man. But with this kid and him dying so young, like, it forced me to think about a lot of things. It forced me to think about how I treated others, how it could affect them. It forced me to think about how deciding to be a present father was one of the best decisions that I could ever make. And I had made that decision when I was young, even before I became a father. I mean, years before, just because I saw how my homeboys treated their kids. And they could be my homies, but see, that's where I say that things have changed in my life now, because those could not be my friends anymore after how they treated their kids. Because I was younger, because I was like whatever, because I didn't give a fuck, I allowed a lot of shit to slide. But a lot of those dudes that were my homies, that we were down with each other, that we were ride or die, a lot of them now I would not be able to be their friend because of how they neglected their kids. I couldn't. And I think that that's what's different in me now, is that I would not be able to allow these men to leave their kids hanging, because this is the type of shit that can happen. Like, if you abandon your children, and a lot of us have felt abandoned. Like, I had my parents with me, so I can't really say that. But I've met a lot of people that, even though they've had their parents there, they felt abandoned by them, they felt neglected by them, and because of that, they stepped into drugs. They started using alcohol. They started abusing drugs and alcohol, and they became addicted. And it all stems from the fact that, as parents, we need to take care of our kids. We just need to be there for them. They try to drown the demons or get tweaked out to forget shit. That's what I believe, bro. I believe that shit. I believe that that's what we see every day. Imagine knowing that you were not good. Like, knowing that at any given time someone sees you and it could be all bad. All bad, just even physically, just on sight, someone just, walking up to you and be like, you know what, you're no good. Fuck you. Blink, and just socking you in the mouth. I started getting drunk every day as soon as I moved out on my own. It took me almost 20 years to make that decision to slow down. I mean, did you feel that it affected you, man? Did you feel that it was detrimental to your health, to your relationships? I mean, because I know that there are people that feel that they can handle the alcohol, you know, but I think so that sometimes they're just lying to themselves. I don't know about you, bro. Like, how did you feel that you were able to handle it? Hey, what's up, Facto? What's up, Facto? Chilling, man. We're over here talking about how addiction can affect you. Like, it can obviously kill you. You can get killed because of addiction, for many reasons. You can get killed because of the addiction. You can die of an overdose. You can die because of organ failure, whatever it is. But you can also die from owing money, or getting into problems because of your addiction. Like, sometimes people under the influence talk the most shit, which we see, and that can bring enemies. A lot of people die because they run their mouth when they're drunk. All right, 100% it was depressing. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, man. And I honestly think that if you have to get drunk every day to feel something, there's definitely something wrong. Something's wrong. No? That's what I think. I think that if you have to get drunk every single day, because I also think there's a difference with the type of highs. that maybe can be a little more acceptable than others. I don't know if you guys feel that way. I'm going to throw the question out there. That Pruno really makes the fear of 25er spears disappear. That Pruno really makes the fear of 25er spears disappear. Yeah, that was a pretty good. That had a couple of a little rhyme within the rhyme scheme going on in there. Pretty good, Jay Slaughter. Saludos. Hey, nice to see you, Oakland. Everything. Nice to see you. I'm thinking about clipping your part of the interview. The same with Katie Frizzle. I'm going to probably like publish it separately, like I did with Miss Yaya, just so that you guys can hear just your part. And I'll probably do that to those interviews. I think I'm going to work on that tomorrow and put those out there. Yeah, thanks Oakland for listening. Let's see. Modelos makes Joker 10 feet tall and bulletproof in his mind. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can get into a wreck under the influence. Like real quick, real quick. I'm gonna tell you another story about another friend of mine. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I agree. I still haven't figured out what's wrong. Okay. And I mean, I know now that you've been dealing with a lot of Maynard, so maybe now you could probably add other things, but it's always a good idea. It's always a good practice, Elmander, and I'm just speaking from experience. It's always a good idea to meditate. Now, if your meditation comes in the form of the Hindu tradition or the Buddhist tradition or whatever type of tradition it comes from, whether it comes in the form of prayer or whatever it is, I think it's always a good practice to take time to evaluate and to do some soul searching, to do some introspection, and really figure out what it could be that's bothering you. In my case, I found a lot of triggers. Like when I started really taking the time to meditate and to pray, I started realizing what the triggers were. What it was that made me act a certain way. And that's why when I tell you guys that I don't tell people, hey, you have to earn my trust, you have to earn my respect. No, I don't do that because I don't want anybody to figure out what those triggers are. I mean, they've already been the majority of triggers have been unarmed or have been deactivated, but there's still a few. There are still some. And I think that as humans, we're always going to have things that trigger us. But the sooner we discover them, the sooner we understand what they are, the better it can be. And it could also help us with those addictions. I mean, I also believe in therapy. I also believe that in AA and going out there and, seeking help, interventions, whatever helps get you the help that you need and help curb that addiction, more power to you. You know, some people get medicated. The emperor showing his new clothes to his people when he's really only wearing one shower shoe and a goofy smile. Hey, what's up, Fear of the Dark? Nice to see you, man. Chilling, man. We're talking addiction. We're talking how it affects people, bro. And we're talking about the overall implications of someone being addicted. I remember there was a moment in time in which I felt that maybe I was getting addicted, but I wasn't getting addicted so much to like being high and being drunk, but it was just being out on the street. Right. And I remember that in order for me to be out on the street, I had to have money. I mean, you had to make money. And just like there were good days where I could make a good amount of money just from doing stupid shit out there, like, petty crimes, there were also times in which I didn't have money. And I remember this one time I didn't have money. And I had my aunt. She was my favorite aunt, and she loved me. I don't know. She wanted me to be her child, I guess. She loved me more than I mean, she had her children. She loved her children. I'm not gonna be like fucking Skittles and say, "Yeah, my aunt loved me more than she loved you." Like, what a fucking asshole. But anyways, so I went to my aunt and I'm like, "Hey, Tia, what's up?" I went and she was like tripped out because it was late. It was like around 8:30 ish p.m. And I'm like, hey, Tia, do you think you can let me borrow $25? Now I just needed 25 because I was already thinking I was gonna flip. I was gonna flip it. I just needed to start. I just needed to buy, something and flip it, and I just needed $25 to start flipping. I knew that by the end of the night I could end up with a good 300, $400, but I just needed to start with 25. Oh, screenshot looks really good with the text in those boxes, doesn't it? Yeah, I like this restream thing, man. But anyways, I needed 25, and I remember I went and I told my aunt, "Could you let me borrow $25?" And she's like, "Sure." And she went to her purse, she got him, but then she walked with me outside, right? She walked with me, and she's like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Is everything okay at home?" But I mean, she already knew that I was acting stupid, but I guess she tripped out that I was asking for money. And she's like, "Are you on drugs?" I'm like, "Look, the I smoke. I smoke, but I'm not addicted. I drink, but I'm not addicted. To be honest with you, Tia, I need these $25 so I can make more money. I'm gonna be real. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna come drop off the $25 tomorrow." And I did. I went over there, and she didn't take it. She's like, "Nah, don't take. Don't worry about it. I don't want the money. I just want you to be okay." You know. But she was worried about me being hooked on drugs, especially because she knew I was out there on the streets acting stupid. But she saw that I was driving. I had my little car, I had my little Nissan Sentra at the time, and I ended up flipping so much money that I ended up with a Camaro with an IROC with the T tops and the chrome IROC rims. Man, that was my dream car. I ended up having to sell it when everything started going downhill for me. But I mean, I think about that too. Because sometimes, in order for me to make money, in order for me to flip those $25, I was also involved in supplying drugs to people. And I'm not proud of none of that. No, I think about it now and I'm like, I contributed to some of that, man. And that's why for me, just the process of reevaluating my life and seeing just how low I had gotten, just how low I had been willing to go to make money, how willing I was to allow other people to suffer for my pockets to get fat is what also changed me, even my political views. Because for a long time, I was a right winger. I remember. I mean, I grew up with Reaganomics. I grew up during the time of just say no and believing that the US was the fucking, best country in the world, watching the A team and all of this shit, and everybody just being fucking patriotic, that nobody questioned why the General Lee had the fucking had the rebel flag on it. And hey, respects to everybody and how they feel, but we all know what those symbols, eventually mean. But I grew up in that time. I grew up in that time. And it was easy growing up in the United States to lose track of how people were really doing bad. People were really doing bad. 80s and 90s. I mean, the CIA putting drugs into those communities is real. And we ended up seeing a lot of that shit. And when now that I think about it, now that I think about how the CIA fucked up my own country, being here and seeing the reality of what the drug war, what the Cold War, what all of these wars, these endless wars did to countries like mine, it just made me realize that we are truly responsible a lot of the times in perpetrating these things and then spreading these things that eventually causes harm. It's a big fucking circle of life. The Lion King was not joking. It's a fucking big ass circle of life. And we are all an integral part in whether we allow certain shit to continue or not, just like drug addiction. Like, we hate the junkie, we hate what the junkie does, but we're willing to brag about making money off of selling drugs. Like, I watched Joker talking about, yeah, I always had a clavo, I always had money, I always had money on my books, blah, 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 blah. But then he's over here complaining about the homeless in California. Like, bitch, do you not see the correlation? Like, do you not see it, motherfucker? And you're over here complaining about people needing money and for public schools and all that shit. And you're a fucking recipient of money from the state. When we talk about addiction, we don't realize how much of an active participant sometimes we are when we vote against public programs that help with addiction. You know, we want to beef up police and we want to beef up jails. And I understand where people can see things that way. But I've also seen what drugs can do. And I know how drugs can turn a housewife into a hoe real quick and have her shaking her ass out there for crack. But it happens to men too. Like, I've seen men degrading themselves for a hit of rock. Now it's meth. Now it's all of these other things. But when I was growing up, it was rock, it was smack, and fools would do the craziest shit. I mean, if you remember Menace to Society, you know, that shit was real. You know? A lot of people have misplaced patriotism, loving the government and hating their country and their people. Yes. They love the symbolism, but not who they're supposed to be protecting and who they're supposed to be uplifting. The CIA is one of our biggest enemies. Of course. They run covert operations against covert operations, bro, all the time. He had a clavo in his veins or sit la clava. I don't know. Hey, shout out to you, Creeps. Nice to see you. Thank you for supporting. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jay Slaughter, Hangman. Let's see. Primo, all those rogue agents who don't answer to the people and operate without accountability. Yes, definitely. I got these cheeseburgers, man. Hey, look, man. Once again, I used to have people go grab me prime. Like, when we wanted to have a barbecue, bro. Okay, and I want people to remember the 90s for a second. Okay, when we wanted to throw a barbecue, okay, and I'm talking about $200, $300 worth of beef back in like 95, 94, 95. Okay, and we wanted ribs and everything. All I had to do was give a base head a fucking 20 piece. And if we got enough base heads out there giving them a 20 piece, we were gonna have a barbecue with the choice cuts of the day. And all we had to do was break off a 20 piece. Straight up. And they would get all of that shit. And they would have no food for them. You know, and I think about that. You know, when I think now, like, I'm like, God damn, you know, I was out there fucking participating in that shit. You know, many of us did. Many of us were active participants in seeing the downfall of our own communities. You know, that's why I can never, ever, 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 ever applaud these motherfuckers glorifying that shit. Not at all. Fuck that. Don't even get me started on that. I know, Katie. I know. Never send Leonard to get your barbecue supply. He'll probably bring you roadkill instead of real actual beef. No, but I mean, but seriously, so when we talk about drug addiction, sorry, and when we talk about alcoholism, I mean, there's a lot. that is affected. Whole communities, whole societies are ruined because of these addictions. And I think that we need to understand that there could be help. There could be. But we choose to ignore these problems. Sometimes we choose to try to sweep them under the rug. We choose to label these problems for other things than for what they are. Which is drug addiction, mental problems that people can't cope with. So they turn to drugs. Let's see. Leonard will bring back the doo doo machine. Hey, Fear of the Dark. That's real talk, Frank. I was strung out on heroin for 11 years. I made yours clean with an amazing wife and two beautiful kids. Hey, shout out to you, Fear of the Dark. God bless you, man. It's good to hear. Thank you for sharing that, man. And I'm happy for you, bro. I'm happy for you. And I pray to God that you continue holding it down, bro. And thank you so much for putting it out there and for letting us know, bro. I mean, it takes a village, right? Sometimes it can't be by yourself, but we also have to see what are the things that we're doing that help contribute to some of these problems. And a lot of times we don't give a fuck about other people. We only care about ourselves, and that sometimes leads people down some dark fucking paths. I told this dude I needed a window for my car, and the next day when I came home, there was a whole car door sitting there. Yeah, bro. I've had whole cars brought, and all I needed was the fucking back light. And then they brought me the whole car. It's like, here, I'll pull it out fresh. Like straight up. But then he wanted to sell me like other shit like that came with the car, like the system, the seats, everything. I'm like, nah, bro, I just needed the fucking back lights. That's it. That's all I needed because they smashed mine. Shout out to Fear for kicking that shit. Yeah, man. Shout out to Fear of the Dark. God bless you, bro. I'm glad you made it out of that, Fear of the Dark. Yeah, man. Salute to you, Fear of the Dark. That's why we do this, That's why we talk about these things, because there are people that have lived through it, and there are other people that may be going through it. We don't know who the people in our chats who watches us, what it is that they're going through. And sometimes these are good opportunities to let them know, man, there's help. You can get help, and you should never see yourself as someone weak. Sometimes it's just that we have problems that we have to go through. That's right. Yeah, shout out to Fear of the Dark, man. We have to be more concerned when it comes to the decisions that we make that allow for things to continue. Sometimes we don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss until we realize just how much we partake in a lot of the things that harm our own communities. You know? That's why I cannot stand for the glamorization of the street life, of gang life, of criminal life, of the prison system. I can't stand for the glamorization of it. I can't. What's the point of me telling you war stories? Like, what would a war story do? Like, it wouldn't make me look any better. It would make me look like an idiot talking about things to make myself look good. No. None of that shit that I went through did anything but made me realize that jail is not the fucking place to be. Like, if you saw the video that I put out today, look at those grown ass men glamorizing how much time they did. And that is their measure of how they respect other men. Because I bet you I can spit facts to those fools all day long, but because I didn't do a life fucking term, or because I wasn't in the shoe, or because I wasn't over there fucking raising my hand to be a torpedo, I should not be respected. I should not be heard. A lot of dudes out there with their channels, that's how they operate. They operate under the assumption that unless you had a certain amount of time that you did on your plate, you don't deserve the respect of those that did it. Man, fuck all that. I'm gonna be straight up and I'm gonna tell you you're an idiot if that's how you think. If you think that the years that you spent behind time give you an extra umph in your voice that only you can go out there and talk about it, nah, fuck you. Especially when you're out there fucking glamorizing it. Like I see these fools glamorizing jail all the time, and not just these two. You guys have seen it. No, all that talk about good standings. What's it good for? Like, who does it benefit in here? Like, can I know? I'll sign up. Fuck it. No, it doesn't benefit anybody when you're still trying to uphold a lifestyle that does so much damage to the community. So it is okay. You did your time. You didn't tell on anybody. You didn't debrief. Good for you. That shows that you're a man. That shows that you were loyal. That shows that you did all this. But now that you're out here, you should be demonstrating that you've got what it takes to be more than just that. More than whatever it is that you think you were behind bars. You know, because that should never be a badge of honor. Been off that shit for 15 years now. That's cool, Jay Slaughter. Shout out to you, my brother. Hey, shout out to both of you, man. To Jay Slaughter, to Fear the Dark, and anybody, man. Anybody. You know, that's going through it even now. You can get help. There is help to be, don't ever feel that asking for help is a sign of weakness, because that's another problem that we have. And that is why all of this hardcore shit is bullshit, because sometimes fools want to act so hardcore that they don't want to seek help when they know they need help. You need help, motherfucker. You need help. Trying to keep true wisdom through prison status is nasty work. Yeah, bro. But we don't fall for that shit. We transcend all of that shit. We are the exposed to family. We transcend all. That's why I can freely come up here and talk about these things, because I want people to know that they can get help. It's never too late. Whatever it is that's holding you back should not be strong enough for you to move forward. It should not keep you from moving forward. Not at all. That's crazy. Being locked in the cage sucks. Hell yeah, it sucks. That old man Mohawk is glorifying the time. Yeah, did you see that? Old ass man talking about, I did 31. Who cares how long you did, man? Look, I see more people like making more sense that did no time. Like what did that time do for you? Seriously. Like how does that make you look? Like how did that time make you look? Because now you're on TikTok acting a fool. Right? How did that time benefit you if your last resort, or if your only resort to making money is being online, getting drunk, acting the fool, scamming people, lying, talking shit? Joker's gotten to the point where he's back to being an alcoholic. He's a full-fledged alcoholic. Now, my problem with that is that he brought that upon himself because he was no longer drinking. He's just trying to bring GBG Clutch to the best thing that happened in my life was when I was in rehab. Hey, there you go, Hugo Torres. Thank you so much for letting us know. Rehab and asking for help is important. And it should never be seen as a weakness. It should never be seen as something that should only be done by people that can't control themselves, man. There are times in which we need to talk to others. There are times in which we need to go to rehab and we need to get some professional help. There's nothing wrong with admitting to that. 52-year-old hammered with a mohawk on TikTok, shake my head, straight lame ass bump. Yeah, bro. And these are men that have children, adult children. Some of these dudes are grandparents. Like some of the women that are on the panel there are mothers too. There's a lot of young grandmothers out there. Imagine your grandmother's on TikTok getting drunk with strangers, with some old ass dudes talking about prison and gang politics, talking about being flamed out. You're 40 fucking 5 years old. Talking about being flamed out. What the fuck? Like, how is that something to brag about? And on top of it, too, being glazing for Joker. Yeah, man. Hey, what's up, Mike? What's up, Mike Morello? Hope all is well and healthy for AI. All is well and we're healthy out here, man. Hey, shout out to Mike. Shout out to Mike Morello. Nice to see you, man. That's a spider, right? That's right. That's right, champ. Yeah, man. Look, addiction is addiction is a problem, and we have to admit when we need help. That's right, Casey Frizzle. What's up, Miss Yaya? What's up, Miss Yaya? You have to know when you need help, and it's never too late. It should never be something embarrassing to get help. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we can get help. But once again, Joker is once again an alcoholic. At age 52, he reignited his alcoholism. That to me is sad. I'm not sad because of him. I'm sad because of the look. A 52-year-old grandparent who once again became an alcoholic because he was peer pressured online. Imagine being 52 years old and having strangers online peer pressure you into your alcoholism again. That's not a sign of strength. Nothing is more annoying than when Skittles always try to talk about how he is a good dad. If he if someone has to continue voicing that, then the chances are they aren't a good dad. Look, man, my children are always around me and I don't bring them on camera and I don't put them out there because of the fucking trolls. But my kids are around all the time, man, and we talk about all kinds of shit. And I don't come out here and have to tell you I'm a good dad. No, I know that I'm fortunate to have learned what I learned when I learned it to have the type of relationship that I have with my children. But my wife helped too, because even though her and I went through shit, she never used that and put me against them or put my kids against me. She never did that. Rest in peace to Granny. But that would have blown my mind. My granny was real square and proper. Hell, she used to spank my little behind for sneaking a cookie out the jar. Hey, listen, sometimes, punishment and scolding could get out of hand, right? I do think that. But I do believe in tough love. I do believe that sometimes you have to be strong with your kids. Sometimes you have to be tough. I've had to be tough with my kids where I ground them, take things away from them, and there have been times in which I have spanked them when they were very little, but hey man, I made a lot of mistakes too, but I think that the intention was always clear. My presence has always been here and that made a difference. But how would it look like? Imagine me, I'm about to be 50 in November. Okay, I'll be 50 in November. I have not I've never been a drunk. I've never been a drug addict. And I've never been addicted to shit. I've done it, never been addicted. Thank God for that. But imagine me at my age now getting peer pressured by TikTokers to start drinking and become an alcoholic. That's not a sign of strength. You know? OG Smalls, Mike, hope all is well. That's right, Miss Yaya. Them lames thought them rhinos were impressed hearing that shit. Yeah, bro. Them hyenas, I think. The stigma in the U.S. leads to denying and hiding everything. The billionaires who create these conditions force us to help them, but don't want to help us for us to help each other. That's right, Jay Slaughter, and we could talk about that for weeks, and just unravel even more shit. Real talk, Frank. That's right, Fear of the Dark. Hey, thanks for sharing, bro. And once again, salute to you, my friend, and you, Jay Slaughter, and everybody that, you know, that's struggling. Hey, ill mannered, shout out to you, my friend. I know it's tough, bro, but sometimes we just have to put our guard down and accept when we need help. Oh no, not the cane, rhino highness, the rhinoceros. Yeah, man. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. So look, I've seen addiction take good people, and over some bullshit. And then Joker blames the chat for him getting drunk. Shake my head. That's straight addict behavior. Yeah. Oh, they made me. They don't want me. They forced me to stay on. Man, nobody for. How can you look? I fall. Sometimes I feel like I'm falling asleep during one of our lives. I'll go to sleep. I love all of you, and you guys know I'm down for watching the chats, for jumping on the collective, for being down for Ladies of Explosive. But the last Ladies of Explosive, towards the end, I fell asleep, and when they came back on and we're watching the boxes, I was gone. I was knocked out. I'm gonna get my sleep. Why? Because I have responsibilities. I work. I still have to do all of that stuff. I'm not a full-time YouTuber, right? Now imagine me having like waking up with a hangover every day, having to work, put out content, go back on TikTok, be on a live, drink, 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 go to sleep, and do it all over again every day. He does it 7 days a week. I don't even see him getting a 9 to 5, even though he needs a 9 to 5. Like by now, I think it's pretty obvious the Joker and Skittles are going to need to get a 9 to 5, but they're not getting any younger. Joker's drinking too hard, and I don't know about Skittles. I don't know. I don't know. He looks happy sometimes, like too happy. You know, Joker likes to grab the rhino by the horn. It's crazy. Now, what do we do? Like, what do you do when people that you know or when someone you know is addicted? I mean, you first of all, you have to be able to accept it, and you cannot lie for people. You cannot try to hide it. I think that, especially in Latino households, we're very proud. Especially older people, they're very proud. They don't like to admit that their child or their brother or their sister or whoever it is in the family is going through shit. They don't like to admit it. They don't like to admit that they've got a crackhead or a fiend in their family. It's hard. It's hard to accept it. But if you love your family, you're going to have to accept it, and you're going to have to come to the terms that, hey, you know what? My sister needs help, and you have to try to get that help. And if you have to have intervention, then you have to have a fucking intervention. But do what you got to do, because what sucks is when you see this person going to jail, when you see this person getting beat up, when you see this person out on the street, and eventually, if they don't get the help they need, dying, and then you feel the regret of not having done shit. When you think back and you're like, man, I could have done more. Man, we could have had an intervention. Man, I could have fucking called, a rehab place. We could have done more. It's the guilt that you're left with is the problem. And that happened with one of my other friends. Like, so I told you guys, If he was jolly, friendly, drunk, it wouldn't be so it wouldn't be so glaring. But he's a miserable bastard. Yeah, he's a miserable drunk. That tells you that he's going through shit. It's not about happiness. He's hiding from shit. High power drunks are the worst. Yeah, Joker's dream is to get the Eiffel Tower by Leonard's 11 and Skyless. But yeah, we have to be able to get help for people. We have to. Now, one of my friends that passed away, that was killed here years ago, whose wife came down. She's the one who brought me this MacBook, invited me to her older son's baptism. He had to go to rehab down here because he was hooked on drugs as well. And I remember he used to come to the pad. Like, he used to come here at night sometimes, and he would smoke out. This was years ago, before things got really bad. He would smoke out sometimes, and he would put rock. And I was like, "Fool, what are you doing? Like, why are you smoking that shit?" So, nah, fool, it's just this and that. And it turned out, like, a few months later, I realized he was fucking hooked. And his wife was down here with his daughters, and they ended up calling rehab, and he ended up escaping from the rehab. He went AWOL, and then he came to my house, and I ended up taking him to his house, talking to his wife, and I remember that she got upset at me because I said something along the lines of, "But are you sure you're doing enough?" I questioned her about the help that she was getting the father of her children. Now, let me explain to you who this woman is. She's my friend. She's third generation Chicana. So she's not even Salvadoran. She's not even like was born in Mexico to say that maybe because she's Mexican, she can go back to like another third world country. No. She was third generation Chicana in LA, born full English, hardly Spanish. And she decided to pack up everything, her children and everything, and come live with my friend down here. Okay, she did that shit. I have not met any woman, I have not met anybody whose wife was down to do that. The majority, they'll just move on. The majority will move on. But she brought her kids down here. She started working down here as well. And my homeboy, my friend, rest in peace, was fucking everything off, getting high. And I remember I used to tell him, "Fool, do you know how fortunate you are? Do you not see what this woman was willing to do? You know how many dudes out here wish their woman would have done the same as yours? And then she's beautiful, and she's working in an airline. She's making more money than you. And you're doing this to your family, bro." And I got mad. I got mad at his ass. But they ended up calling, a center for rehab. He ended up going through the rehab, and then he ended up going to church, and then he started turning his life around. And we were all happy. And then he got killed. He had only been clean. My friend had only been clean for about a year, 2 years. When they tried to rob him for his truck, they robbed him for his chain. They kidnapped him along with the truck, and they found him like 5 hours later. They had taken all his jewels, they had taken his shoes, and they had shot him twice in the back of the head. And he was found in a ravine. And what he was trying to do was help a pastor at his church move some things around because gangs had already showed up and told him that they needed him to leave. So my friend, knowing the situation, decided to go help this pastor out and ended up getting killed in the process. Now everybody was like, well, at least he died or he got killed after he had already, you know, gave his life to the Lord, after he had cleaned up, but he still got killed. And his children were young. So most of what they remember were the problems. Most of the ones that most of what they remember were the fights. Now I've met them now. Now they're older. Now they're all adults. Beautiful kids. Love them all. They keep in touch with me. As a matter of fact, if anybody is of you guys has me on Facebook, you're gonna see that I have a big picture and it's all of them. It's I've got my kids and his kids next to me. My friends' kids. And they came and we talked about him for hours when they came down. And in the back of my mind, I wish, I was thinking like, man, I wish I would have had more time with him, but that was pretty much impossible because he wasn't sober all the time. And because he was getting high all the time, I had kind of backed away, you know. So I think about that and I'm like, maybe I should have been a better friend. So we're always left with, maybe I could have done more. Maybe I needed to do more. Addiction is a problem, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's whatever type of drugs they are. They'll harm you and your relationships. And it is important to seek help. And it is important to know that there is help out there. John one day, what's up? Let's see, unknown. What's up? What's up? Brand new burner account is not just for a burner account. All right. Well, I don't know who you are, bro, but thanks for stopping by. Um, yeah, addiction is a problem, but there's a lot of factors to addiction. There's a lot of social aspects, and then there's a lot of mechanisms in place to continuously produce drug addicts. That's just you have to create a need, right? You have to create a need. Convenient answer. All right. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I don't know if anybody wants to jump on, but I just wanted to come out here and share this time with you guys and just let you know, man, that addiction is a problem, and it can be resolved. There are ways that you can help yourself or you can help someone else if they're going through an addiction. What's up, X-Rated? Nice to see you, my friend. How's it going? Just chilling, man. We're talking a little bit about addiction. Just seeing if anybody wants to jump on. If not, I'll probably cut it short today. But I did want to have these conversations with you guys. I want to give a shout out to Fear of the Dark, Ill Mannered, Jay Slaughter, everybody that Ugo that's shared their story. God bless you guys. And I wish you strength. And I hope that you have the right support system. I hope that you have the right environment to where you can continue to thrive, and not be led astray by addiction. And if you know that you're going through something, if you know that you're hiding or that you're using any kind of substance to kind of deal with your day, maybe you need some help, and maybe the help may be in the form of just talking about it. Just so you guys know, I mean, you can, people reach out to me, and if you want to just talk and shoot the shit and need someone to listen to you, I can make the time, man. I can make the time. I'm not a professional, right? But I could be your friend and I could listen to you. And sometimes I know all that we need is an ear to listen to us, man. Sometimes that's all we need. It's just someone to listen. I might give you advice though. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. If you bring something to me, I'll probably give you advice, but I'll try not to do it right away. But yeah, I mean, look for people. Sometimes sometimes family is not the best choice, and I get that. Family can be judgmental too. Families sometimes are the provokers of people seeking out drugs to try to get away from the chaos that family can cause. But we have to find solid ground. We always have to find solid ground. It's for trolling, not just for lurking. I've been clean many years of hard drugs. It was a struggle, but done it. Hey, good for you, man. Shout out to you. I don't know you. I don't know if you're trolling me, but any story is good, man. Any success story is good, and it's not easy. I know it's not easy, man. It's never easy. I know it's hard for me to kick the desire of making money the fast way. You know, when you're used to making money fast, it's hard to go back to the 9 to 5 back breaking work. Hey, but I had to do it. I had to remember that I needed to be on that straight and narrow, and it's hard. Miss Yaya, Miss Frank is amazing. I know I reach out all the time. Ah, thank you so much. You're amazing too. You're amazing too. And that's why I appreciate your friendship, Miss Yaya. God bless you and your family. Sometimes advice is necessary. Yeah, I agree. But sometimes, but sometimes just listening, bro. Sometimes, because I like when people talk to me, and what I do is I use their own words so that they can kind of answer themselves, because sometimes we know the answer. We're just avoiding it, you know? Sometimes we avoid what we know we need to do. But we just need someone to help us like get to it. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations to you unknown one, right? Let's see, Miss Yaya. It depends on the person. Everyone is different, but there is ways of working on it one day at a time. Yeah, we just have to know what it is, right? But once we know that there's a problem, they always say that, and I'm gonna repeat it. Once you know there's a problem and you admit to it, that's the first step, right? First of all, admitting to the fact that you are having a problem, admitting to the fact that you need help with this problem, that's the first step. After that, you just got to move forward. I'm not trolling that straight up. All right, hey, I believe you, bro. I have no reason not to believe you, right? I have no reason not to believe you, bro. Okay, I just, you know, I mean, you know how it is. We get lots of trolls. Shout out to Unknown for giving it up. Welcome to YouTube. Yeah, man. Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to everybody that's been with me, that's been watching. You know, shout out to you guys. Frank Dika's here to give a little extra push. Yeah, I want, I always, and that's the thing. Like I always say, and you guys can go back to my first couple of um of videos. Before the exposed to, before all of that. Go back to a few me. If you go back to my videos, you're gonna see that it's always been about this. I've always wanted to reach out and be of help, and maybe you're not gonna get the help from me directly, but at least let me plant the seed for you to get help. Get help. Don't leave it as a problem that you think you're going to be able to handle. If you know that you're addicted to something and you can't stop doing it, whatever it is, it could be gambling, it could be lying, it could be just being a piece of shit. If you're addicted to being a piece of shit, get some help, motherfucker, because nobody needs to deal with your piece of shit attitude. Straight up. I mean, some people are addicted to just being assholes because they're afraid that if they're not the asshole, then they might be the weak person in the room and they're going to be taken advantage of. That you can be addicted to being a fucking jerk. You can get help with that too, bitch. That's right. You have been around drug users. I don't think about going back to drugs. Yeah, man. Don't think about going back to being around drug users. Right? If you look, there's something that I've learned. And if you've got the problem, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to find it. You can go all the way to Siberia and you're going to end up meeting the only Siberian plug that there is. But you're going to find that shit and you're going to find it and you're going to use it if you still have the problem. Doesn't matter where you go. That's why you need to work on that shit. You need to come to terms that that is a problem in your life because it doesn't matter. You can move anywhere in the world. You can go to fucking to the South Pole and you're going to have a penguin come up to you and be like, "Hey, fool, I got that shit. What's up?" Straight up. I don't think there's help for some things. Yeah, but with addiction, I think there is. Drugs, especially. Other things, yeah, that would require a much longer conversation, right? That's fact. Yeah, it's facts, brother. It's facts. The help they need. Yeah, man. Yeah, sometimes you need fire, man. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom. Look. I am a firm believer that sometimes you need to lose in order to win. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom. Some people need to get punched in the mouth. Some people need to get kicked in the head. Some people just need it. Some people need to go to jail. I'm not an advocate for prisons. I hate fucking prisons. But some people need to get locked the fuck up. Straight up. There's people that have gone through jail. Look, watch my video, the video I put out today. Oh, I did 31 years. I did 25 years. I did 19 years. Those 19 years are in question, by the way. But what does that do for you? If you still are out here acting stupid, acting the fool, addicted, and putting yourself out there for the world to see. Now, how did those years being locked up make you any better or any more prepared to deal with reality? Did it? We don't need no water to let that motherfucker burn. Shout out to the Penguins in the struggle. No, but I mean, seriously though, I remember coming down here and just knowing that I could get anything I wanted, and I tripped out because I'm like, I didn't know this country was like that. But it turned out that you can get anywhere wherever you are. Well, what I meant to be more clear, I've realized some people are causes, and yeah. I mean, that happens too, Katie Frizzle. That's what I said. I mean, sometimes people are the problem, and sometimes we got to cut them off. And I cut people off left and right. I don't give a fuck. No, my peace of mind is my peace of mind. And if your presence is toxic, and if your presence is making me think of shit that I shouldn't be thinking of, or is making me say and acting ways that I know are not representative of who I am, and I'm breaking character being around you, fuck you. I don't need your shit. I don't need your presence. I don't need your toxicity. I 100% agree with that, Katie. Let's see. When some people get kicked in the head, they're going to regret not wearing that helmet their mom always tells them to put on before they leave the house. Sometimes parents are a problem when they overprotect their children or when they don't want to admit that their children have problems. Sometimes they are the enablers that their children don't need. Sometimes the enabler is in the house, you know? If you think Doing time as a badge of honor, you have issues. Yes. And we know that. No treatment for psychopathy. Yeah. There's no treatment for a lot of things. But yeah, I just wanted to come out here. I just wanted to jump on, tell you guys a little bit about, my experiences dealing with people that have been addicted and watching them pass away. Some indirectly because of the drugs, but some directly because of being so damaged health wise by alcoholism that their body couldn't tolerate it. My dad was overprotective. I just taught me, yeah, it just taught me so. Yeah, exactly. And what happens when your parents are overprotective is that they also don't want to talk about shit. And then if they don't want to talk about shit, then you never feel that you have the freedom to speak about what bothers you, right? I mean, that's what happens. Shout out Frank T to the fam. Shout out to you, Popeye. Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for your support, guys. Thanks for you so much for your comments, for participating in this live. And I think people would be surprised how many sociopaths and psychopaths are wandering around. There's far more than people think. Yeah, I agree. I also agree that some people are born apex killers. I think some people are born that way. I do. And I think there is no treatment for that because they're wired that way. I think that seriously. Yeah, shout out to Popeye. Shout out to Popeye. I think that there are some people that are wired a certain way, Katie, to where there is no, like, they're just programmed to do some evil shit, like what we would consider evil, but for them, it's their natural makeup. Definitely underestimated in this generation. We're manufacturing them at an unprecedented rate. Easiest way to identify one is the badge and uniform. Yeah. Yes. Or the. No, I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna keep it to myself. Sometimes we're a problem. Sometimes we're the problem too. Even how we vote enables the government to not give help to those that need it. And mental help, drug, like, rehabilitation, all of that is something that the state should freely give. Instead of the so-called war on drugs, which is bullshit, that war on drugs actually opened the floodgates for more drugs to come in. A lot of that money can be used in education, in programs that will help people escape from drugs, escape from a life of crime because of drugs. We don't need more cops on the street. We need more lifelines for people. We need more education. We need better trade schools. We need to have places where people can learn technology because that might get them a better job. I think that if people had options, I honestly think that 30% of the people that get hooked on drugs is because they found drugs out of sheer boredom and not having nothing to do. Not having nothing, not having anything to do. You know, I do think that a lot of times we started using drugs because we were bored and there wasn't shit else to do and it seemed like something cool to try. Straight up. But if you have things to do, if you have a platform to be on, like even YouTube could be a fucking way of mediating shit. But I see that it enhances the addiction of some people. The treatment is if you're advocating against helping others, you're advocating against yourself. Yeah, that's exactly right. I believe that. I truly believe that. You know, I think we should advocate to help others. I should think we should advocate and vote for there to be more programs for drug addiction, for abuse, for people with mental problems. There should be more programs and less cops and less prisons. Straight up. A lot of people that are locked up over drugs and drug abuse and over mental problems that haven't been treated. So they're treated like criminals. Straight up. And that is the constant cycle, and that is their moneymaker. They create the problem, and they have various businesses open because of drugs. They're just making money off of that same problem in many ways, right? Through the prison industrial complex, through law enforcement, through the ATF, through militarized zones in other countries, but while actively injecting drugs into the communities. Ain't that about a bitch? To be honest, I think they are kind of everywhere these days, in and out of you. Yeah, and some pretend to be in uniform. That's what's crazy. But a fuck up goes to prison. They get to learn a trade for free thanks to prison industry programs. Yeah, bro. But we would have to see. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that, bro. How many people that go through trades, like, well, first of all, how many people actually go through trades? Because the points affect that too. Like the level of crime and the level, like your point system, will affect like the type of access that you can have to those types of programs in prison. So that does matter. And then there's a bunch of knuckleheads that just choose not to. Like they don't give a fuck about learning. You know, I would like to see like the return over investment on those trades in prison. It would be interesting to see like how many people are actually stay away from prison because of going through those programs. Unfortunately, that uniform gives them the license to do whatever they want without consequences, though, and they make us pay for that privilege. Yeah, pretty much. Courts, rehabs, tethers, it's all big business. Also, big farmers out there moving that. Yeah, Let's see, Popeye. As a nation, I don't think we do enough to get the root cause of the addiction. To be honest, it can vary from person to person. Yeah, it can, but access to drugs and who brings in the drugs is usually the same people that say they're fighting it. You know what I mean? So, and then big pharma, like Katie said, a lot of people are addicted to pharmaceuticals. Like those are the biggest issues, like pharmaceuticals that are allowed through big pharma. It's not a lot of the drugs that they say are the ones that are causing the problems, but that's a whole different story, and we might have that conversation in one of my lives at some point. But I do think Popeye, and I do think that we need to do more. I do think we need to do more. I think that me personally, as a channel, I will definitely bring more awareness to it because I see what happens. I see what goes on, and like I said, I've had experiences with people that whole families have been destroyed because of drug addiction and alcoholism. And close to home too. Skittles learned to be underwater well, supposedly. Yeah, I'm trying to think how many points you need to be in that because you have to have like very low security to be able to handle those things. You know, I'm thinking where he learned it. Has he showed his search, Kelly? Yeah. That I've never seen it, and like I said, what prison was he in, and what point? How many points did he have to be able to have learned that? That's a very interesting thing. Like I've never really thought about it, but that would be interesting. Like how did you have access to learning? Like you need to have clearances to use those tools. Like you cannot have high pointage and be a risk factor, and they're going to throw you in there with these tools. You know, like, where were you? Has anybody asked what prison Skittles was in? Where did he learn that trade? What level was he on? That's a good question to ask. What prison? I'm not going to look for it on this. So I'm throwing it out there. Somebody do the homework. What prison shows you that trade and what level do you have to be on? Joker says he can hold his breath for 5 minutes in the. Where do you think he learned how to do that, Slaughter? Let's see. Leonard was welding cheeks together in the prison, or he was getting welded. Mule Creek don't have no pools for sure. Exactly. So sometimes you have to ask those types of questions. He claims to have been in Corcoran at one point. Okay, but how many points do you have to be in that program? Is my question. Because I remember that, like, I was in a trade. I was in the shop. I was learning how to use the cat system to design parts for the machinery that they were using in the prison. So, but I was taught how to use the CAD to design. And then I was also, because I was in Old Folsom, I was in the print shop. So, you had to have really low levels of points to be in those types of programs. Yeah, and Joker was working on the pipes. So that's homework. That's homework. Someone needs to discover where he learned and how many points you need to be in that program. He had to weld that trash can to ensure no spears got through. Yeah, he had to reinforce it. That's a good question. I'm not saying that their stories aren't true. What I'm saying is, for you to learn those trades, you have to have a certain point level to be allowed to use those tools. Straight up, straight up. But anyways, that'll be another conversation some other time. I want to give a shout out to everybody that shared a little bit of their story. Shout out to Ms. Yaya too. I know that she turned her life around. I know many of us have. I know many of us that are in here have experienced with drugs, have used drugs, and know of people that have had problems with drugs. Just always remember that you can help by getting them help. Doesn't necessarily have to be you, right? As long as you can get someone the help they need, you're doing your part. And I just want to let everybody know that you guys can reach out to me if you ever want to have a conversation. You know what's up? Hey, what's up, Peaceful? There is a way out of addiction. You just have to admit that you have a problem and you have to want to get out of it. And if the want and the need is strong enough, you'll make it through. No, I pray for you. I pray for all of you. And I hope all of you can find the help that you need, no matter what it is that you're going through. Okay. Now, having said that, thank you guys so much for having joined me, for having watched this live. I appreciate all of your support. I'm going to continue doing this every day. This is definitely a topic to continue. Yeah, I think we will. I think we will, Miss Yaya. I might get into like specific drugs and things like that. And if people want to jump on and talk about it, that'll be cool too. I might have some guests. You never know. All right. I will continue doing this Talking Papas. I took ownership. We're going to do it every day. There might be days in which I do it early. I'm thinking about doing one early, maybe tomorrow, but we'll see about that. Hey, no, gracias to you, Popeye. Thanks so much for you guys, Sasquatch, Miss Yaya, Katie, Jay Slaughter, Ill Mannered, Kelly, Big Dog, everybody that's been with me throughout this live, everybody that's jumped on Fear the Dark, Hugo Torres, OG Smalls, all of you guys at Shark City Girl, shout out to you. God bless you. Everybody that X rated that was here. I know we had Unknown One. was in here too, talking about their experience. Yeah, we got to look out for each other. And if you are a part of the explosive movement and you're going through something, the Hangman, nice to see you, man. Great conversation. Thank you for being here. Yeah, good live today. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. If you need help, we got you. We are the Exposed Tube Revolution, and we are here for each other. We are here to help each other. We are here to be a shoulder to cry on if you need that too. And anybody else that's lurking, that's watching, but also needs help, hey man, just reach out. We're here for you guys. Now, once again, we will continue this conversation some other time. I will try to be live tomorrow as well. I'm going to try to do this every day, every single day. It don't stop. We are the Exposed Tube Revolution. Shout out to the ladies of Exposed Tube, everyone down with the revolution. Shout out to all of the channels that are friendly to us and everybody that's down for Frank Dika's Drop of Knowledge as well. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.